Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on Their Fight Story. If you haven't subscribed to my channels, please do so. We have Sean Lally, the unpredictable one, with us, and let's get this started. Sean, how are you doing?
Good. That video gets me all amped up and ready to go fight now.
Don't kill anybody yet.
I'll wait. I'll hold it all for July 10th. That's for sure.
Late last year, you opened up your gym. How is that going?
So far, so good. Yeah, it's there was some challenges, of course, because I opened in the middle of a pandemic, but
Mhm.
that was on purpose and that was by design. We opened in December of last year, so we're just about 6 months. We're about 6 months into business,
Mhm.
and it's continued to build from day one. Things started a bit slow, as
Mhm.
I expected. I had a good group of people who came on board with me, a strong clientele for a base membership. And then I got a few more members. And now over the last couple months, things have really started to pick
Mhm.
up. I've been signing up more and more members. I have 4 coaches working for me now, and we're able to do 5, 6 classes a day and private training. And it's one of those things where I knew if I was able to open, operate, and even just
Mhm.
break even during the pandemic,
Mhm.
that when things started to open up, which I thought would happen and now has happened, which is great, that we would be able to make a real run and continue to build the brand and build the business. And it's one of those things that I know and I trust that if I just wake up and bust my ass every day and continue to hold myself accountable and to a high standard, not just as from a businessman standpoint, but as a coach and
Mhm.
to my clients who are my customers, and making sure that I'm keeping them happy, that it's going to be successful. And so far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, even during the pandemic, you were doing your own thing and you were focusing and you were training. So during the pandemic, it felt like you were building like your foundation where you were doing like the trial and error, where
Yeah.
you basically, yeah, that's it, and once you actually felt like, yes, I got this, you were able to take off. And that's great. I mean, you did it in the middle of a pandemic while you're trying to train people, while you're trying to figure out your own training because you still have to incorporate your own stuff. It's not like the pandemic happened and everything else was put on pause because you got engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, you're building your business. And as well, you were also going and cornering your friends and fighters. How was that during the pandemic?
So that was a very unique and awesome experience. I've been
Mhm.
working with Fabio Charant, who most recently got signed with the UFC,
Mhm.
and it allowed me to really stay involved from a different perspective. I
Mhm.
didn't really have any specific plans on fighting or anything like that, but it allowed me, one, to take a little bit of a step back as
Mhm.
far as putting the pressure on myself as a fighter and an athlete, and kind of focus and watch somebody else go through camps and be part of that. So that was cool. We went to South Dakota, we went
Mhm.
to Kansas, we went out to Las Vegas for the UFC, and I was basically like, hey guys, I'm turning my garage into a gym, so we're training. That was one of the first things that I did. Was I needed for my own mental health,
Mhm.
and to be able to have a place to train and something to focus on. I'm very goal orientated and driven and competitive in certain ways, and I can't sit around in my house. And I saw the pandemic as an opportunity, and
Yes.
and I don't say that with the disregard to how much it affected people
Mhm.
negatively. But in my mind, I saw it as an opportunity. I
Mhm.
said to myself, when else is the world going to stand still?
Yes.
And allow me to create something and build something. And like you said, it gave me a chance to trial and error. Like all the classes that we're teaching now, I created 2 Marches ago when the,
Mm-hmm.
like first month of the pandemic, I created all those
Mm-hmm.
classes on my laptop. All the classes that we're teaching now, I created the classes, I created the patterns. We've made adjustments and ironed
Mm-hmm.
things out along the way, of course, but I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to create, and it's kind of amazing how it's panned out like that. And then, yeah, with back to Fabio, I mean, great opportunity,
Yeah.
good, great networking. I got to meet a lot of great people and be part of that. Take that UFC walk, even though it wasn't for myself. That's fine. It was cool. It was cool just going out there and being part of the show, And he's fighting again in August, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be part of his corner as well for that event too.
How does that motivate you to just get back in there? I know you were going to take a break, and I think the world couldn't handle you taking a break. So the pandemic hit, so everybody had to shut down at the same time. So how did that help you?
Yeah, so it's funny because I was planning on, I had a fight scheduled for April 4th. Cage Titans was going to go off that night, and I was going to fight Shedrick Goodridge, and we were going to do the Muay Thai fight
Yes.
with MMA gloves. And then it seemed as though it was going to get canceled, and which it did. And I was planning on taking a year off after that fight no matter what. I stopped
Mm-hmm.
saying I was retired because I said that like 2 different times, and I'm like, all right, stop kidding yourself. Don't say you're retired anymore. Like when you're like 50 years old, you can say you're retired, but like just don't say it anymore. So I had that conversation with myself, but the plan was to take a year off.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I was working on was becoming a big majority owner of the title boxing that I was working for.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to work towards that. And I knew that I had to put my focus into my business and family and just my own self-care,
Mm-hmm.
my journey and sobriety and stuff. All that stuff was far more important than fighting. And fighting has been a great thing for me at times, but also it's been a negative thing in certain ways at times, something that I've used to take focus off myself
Yeah.
and just to throw myself all into a fight in a training camp and used it to stay sober or whatnot. And then post fight, I would always have some sort of a post fight depression,
Mm-hmm.
whether I won or lost, it didn't matter, right? Because you got that high of everyone's got your back, you're doing the interviews,
Yeah.
everyone's like, yeah, go kick ass, your social media is blowing up, and then it gets a little bit quiet after the fight and you don't have the same routine. So I knew I needed to build that structure like from the inside out. And I'm a big, I believe that you can only be great at so many things at once, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have certain ducks in a row, your energy, you only have so much energy to put out there. And I
Yeah.
knew at the time that if I was putting energy into fighting, that I was taking energy away from those other three most important things, like family, business, and self-care. So I was like, I'm taking a year off no matter what. I'm going to do this fight. I think it's a good thing that that fight didn't happen because I was already kind of ready to take that break
Yeah.
mentally. Um, so that's what I did. I'm like, I'm going to lay a foundation. I'm going to build the business, and that's what I did. So it was a hell of a year to pick to take off, but Fabio competing and me having my training partners,
Yeah.
it gave me the ability to train without the pressure, without I
Yes.
have to train 6 days a week. It kind of allowed me to become a martial artist again and just enjoy the process and get better at the things that I've never liked. Like, I'm doing gi jujitsu again. I've been doing it almost for a year, and like I just avoided that for so long. I just wanted to
Yeah.
lift weights and spar. Like that's all. Like I would lift weights and spar every day of the week if it was up to me. So I had to get out of my comfort zone and start doing the things that I never did before, and I'm really starting to enjoy those things. Like I want to
Yeah.
go to jujitsu now. A couple of years ago, I've been a blue belt for like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I started really getting into it again.
Yeah. No, that's great because Not many people have your mindset because a lot of people just they shut down. I mean, of course, like everybody, the first 2 weeks, we all thought it was a pandemic. We're locked down for 2 weeks. I'm going to have a little fun, just eat this,
Yeah.
just eat that. Next thing you know, we've all gained 50 pounds, fighting to get it off. But then that's where your gym comes in, and we can go and burn some calories and get in shape. But you found the positive. You didn't stick with the negative, and you focused on it, and you've achieved it, and you're breaking every single thing that other people can't. But you're an example to them. So now you can motivate others to keep going. And the benefit to the pandemic was I was able to learn about Fight Rub. And let me tell you, I love it. And my mom loves it to the point that every time she comes here and she sees one, she takes it from me. I'm like, really, mom? Like,
Yeah.
and I even bought a backup for my backup. And I don't have any more backups. So I have to place my order for the Fight Rub to get that going. It's too much.
Yeah,
Gotta love it.
I'm a huge fan of the fight rubs. A lot of the fighters use the fight rub, but my fiance uses the fight rub. She's every time we go somewhere. Did you pack fight rub? Did you pack fight rub? Like she uses it on her hands. She's a nurse, like she gets dry hands a lot. She uses it on her hands, like her lips as moisturizer. It has so many uses, but I
Yes.
mean, really, what it was created for. My mother created it for me, because I'm a fighter and there comes a little stress when your son is getting in the cage and fighting people. So
Just a
she
little.
thought this would be a great way to help me and give me something that would help heal and relieve some pain that comes with fighting. It's an awesome product. I got a lot of people onto it now, and we'll definitely have it at the Cage Titans show. So if you haven't got a chance to try it, I'd suggest checking it out.
Yeah. No, it helps a lot because, during the pandemic, we always had to, and we still do, with the washing our hands 24/7 and then the hand sanitizer. My hands were so freaking dry. I could cut somebody. Like it
Yeah,
was like sandpaper. So then I would take the Fight Rub and I would put it on. And before the end of the day, I'm like, what just happened? It was like a miracle cream. It was like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I totally love it. It was,
Well, it's cool because like with hands like that, it doesn't just moisturize your hands; it's actually healing the little cuts,
yes.
right? Because it has some serious, powerful ingredients in it,
Yeah. That's why my mom loves it.
all
No, she's like,
natural.
my mom's like, oh my gosh, where's my Fight Rub? Where is it? I'm like, Mom, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
my daughter knows what it is. Like everybody.
she's so funny. You gotta love it. But no, it was the best thing. So I'm glad last year's interview helped because I was able to see it and learn from it and actually see the results of it. You
Absolutely.
know. So how your last fight with actually Cedric Goodrich,
Yes.
you were fighting and I can't remember if you dislocated your shoulder or but you still fought until they told you, hey, you can't fight anymore.
I still believe I would have won that fight if they let me. I love you, Shedrick, but that's just the way I think. I, I dislocated my shoulder, and hats off to him because he caused the dislocation. So
Yeah.
that's his victory. No doubt about it. It was kind of an unfortunate injury on my side, but that's a way to win a fight.
Mm-hmm.
He had my arm in a weird position and my shoulder popped out. I didn't feel it when it happened. And then I ended up getting back to my feet and it was so bizarre. I thought both my hands were up. It was like a bad dream. I thought both my hands were up. And then I see out of my peripheral vision that my right arm was hanging. It felt like it was up. So I
Oh.
saw it in the corner of my eye. And then I looked at him. And the next thing I thought was, he's going to try to kick me in the head because
You
that's what
can't.
I would try to do. And that's right after I thought this for a split second. And then right when I thought that, he went to kick me in the head, but I was able to
Yeah.
get my other hand to the other side and block it. And yeah, I tried to keep fighting. I was upset. I was yelling at the doctor. I was like, let me fight. Let me fight. He had been choking me, so my voice was all raspy. I sounded like a maniac. I was like, let me fight. Let me fight. They're like, you need to go to the hospital, dude. I chilled out. And then somewhere between that point and the hospital, my shoulder, I popped it back into place. But there was a little damage. I had a partial labral tear, and there was quite a recovery process. I called my boss at work. I was like, "Don't take me off any of my classes Monday." So I was 2 days later. I was teaching boxing classes in a sling. Like like that's just how I roll. And like it's funny, but I just have to keep it moving. But it was a process. I couldn't lift my arm past here. I couldn't
Yeah.
I couldn't press 5 pounds. I couldn't press 2 pounds. So it took a while. And there was nerve damage because there's a bundle of nerves right under your armpit, and it pulled those nerves. So I had numb and tingling sensations all the way down my arm for months after. But I did it right. I hired a strength coach. I did PT. TK, shout out to her. She came through and did some PT with me. And then I continuously worked on that stuff too. And I actually feel like it's stronger than it was before, because with those types of injuries, a lot of times it's not what happened in the cage. It was ready to go. And unfortunately, it went that night. It could have gone in training, but it went that night during the fight. And that's how it goes sometimes. It's the fight game,
How was like your mental state? Because I mean, you're dealing with everything that's happening. You're in the cage, you're fighting, you're listening to your corner, your brain has to be split up in so many different parts. Like, okay, I have to watch him. He's my opponent. You got to listen to your corner. You got to listen over here. You got to pay attention to kind of like the ref, the distance, all that good stuff. And now on top of that, you have some sort of injury. How in the world what's your brain processing? Like, how is it?
I was trying to figure out what was going on, but it was like, it's funny. You mentioned the ref, and I never have seen the ref while I'm fighting. Like, the ref is non-existent when I'm fighting. He disappears. I see my opponent. I hear my corner, and that's pretty much it. And then when that happened, it was just like I couldn't process what was going on, right? Like, why is my arm not working? My brain is telling it to get up. Like I said, I thought it was up. It actually felt like it was up. And then out of my corner of my eye, it's hanging there. And I think I actually tried to swing it. I know I did. And it didn't work. And then you see the video after I blocked the kick, I reach and I tried to pick it up with my other arm, and it just flops back down. Like, I was like, maybe if I lift it up, it will stay there. and then it was like, it was just so weird. And then the next thing I thought was like, well, why can't you let me fight with one arm? I mean, guys have hurt legs and they're limping around, and guys have cuts and they let them fight. Like, let me fight with one arm. And if I go out, I go out. Like, that was my next thought.
It didn't work.
No, they wouldn't listen to me. Well, the doctor said my arm was broken. He was wrong. But he said, your arm is broken. So that was kind of like, the doctor's like, all right, well, we're done.
Yeah. You do it. I can understand your mom, why she's always nervous with you, because it's like you don't stop. Like,
yeah, she told me, she texted me yesterday. She's like, I'm gonna go watch some videos of your fights to get amped up. Like, she goes and watches all the fights that I've won on YouTube to get herself hyped up for my fights.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she gets real quiet though. She watches and she supports big time, but it's hard. I mean, she does understand that what I do helps me and benefits me in so many healthy ways. I mean, like I dragged her through some tough times. I was a wild man in high school. I lived on the edge, and then I was in the Army, and I was overseas in Afghanistan in a combat unit, and we had lost men over there, and like, she had sleepless nights. So this is still difficult, but based on the things she's been through with me as a son, I feel like this is a little bit easier for her to kind of be like, okay, this is as safe as it's gonna get with this kid.
Oh, poor mom.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. She's an angel.
Yeah, gosh. For sure.
Now, you said you were in Afghanistan. Have you ever, with doing your combat sport here, felt any of the PTSD from over there?
Um, I definitely get in touch with a little bit of that hypervigilance that
Okay.
I had overseas, which I enjoy in a controlled environment, right? Like sometimes it happens when I don't really want it to happen. Like maybe we're out in the city and I just get like weird vibes and I'm
Hmm.
getting kind of looking around with the eyes and kind of like I feel like a dog with like the hackles up on their back,
Hmm.
sometimes. Um, but I like to be able to tap into it in a controlled environment, and fighting gives me a bit of that. Connor Matthews and I actually just had a podcast a couple months ago, and it was talking about. He was talking more about how jujitsu helped with PTSD, and I related to MMA, and it's a lot of it is really the what I was missing when I left the military, I found in MMA in the
Hmm.
sense of camaraderie, right? You have a team, you
Hmm.
have similar personalities in a lot of ways, people
Hmm.
that are high performers, people that are working towards an equal and like mission, people that like to joke around and have a good time too, even though we're like we're doing uncomfortable things, we find comfort in that
Hmm.
somehow. So all those things really helped me transition, and it was one thing that fighting has saved my life in so many
Hmm.
ways, and martial arts in general.
Yes.
I truly believe that I'd be in jail or dead, and I don't say that lightly or jokingly, if I didn't have martial
Yeah.
arts in my life. So that's the reality. So I do get a little bit, I wouldn't say PTSD, but I feel I get like that optimal focus, that flow state. Like when I stepped off a helicopter in Afghanistan, like I wasn't really Sean Lally. I'd become like this super soldier, like where I just was relying on my training and acting and reacting. And it's the same with fighting, right? Like when I walk out, I'm the unpredictable one, or I'm the fighter. I'm not
Hmm.
I'm not who I am in my day-to-day life, and I get to just go into that flow state and really take that persona on and try to perform at the highest level, which is a really cool opportunity that not everybody gets to feel or be involved with, and it's really something that drives me to continue to pursue this.
Yeah, and that's great. I hope other people that have experience, being in the military, being in combat, can find another outlet. Sometimes it's hard to find an outlet, and this has helped you and many others. So hopefully, if they haven't tried it, maybe now they'll try it. And if
Yeah.
anything, they can go to Kill Combat, located in Needham.
So it's actually self combat.
Oh, self combat.
Yeah, so no, it's
Sorry.
all good. Kill combat's a business. So I'll elaborate on that. Self combat is my gym,
Okay.
which is located in Needham, and we're all about body, mind, spirit, and that's a big part of what I preach there, and a big part of why I live this shit. It's not
Yeah.
like I didn't just go to school and get a degree in exercise science and say, all right, guys, start training. Like I do this day in, day out. I believe in it. I see what it's done for me, and I'm seeing what it's doing for others, and I'm passing that message along. Kill Combat it's actually a business that I started with two other veterans. They're actually still active duty Green Berets, and one's my good friend. They have another business down in North Carolina, and we all kind of put our heads together over the last couple months, and we decided that we were going to create this brand called Kill. I've had the Kill shirts for a couple of years now, and I've
Yeah.
kind of had my own message behind it. But what we thought about, and what it means to me, right, is it's killing anything negative in your life, anything that doesn't serve you, anything that's holding you back from being great and creating opportunities for yourself. Kill the fear, kill the anxiety,
Mhm.
kill the pain, kill the depression, kill all that. And so we created it's combat sports gear. So we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
doing boxing gloves, shin pads. We're just selling apparel right now. We got our signature kill shirts. We got a couple others that are coming. And the idea is to, pass this message. And we hope to create these, kill kits where we provide equipment for veterans to get them
That's awesome.
introduced to MMA and then other people. I have a lot of connections in the sober community too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of really good friends that are here today and others who, have not made it. It's kind of crazy. Like I think I think I know more people now that have died from drugs than I knew that died overseas.
Oh,
And that's scary, right?
yeah.
That now, like here, where you like to think it's safe, you're home, that there's something out there that's a serious enemy that's killing people. So that's something that kills a little bit of a side hustle right now, but
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited what it turns into.
Yeah. Wow. It's actually more powerful than what I thought it was.
Yeah,
Um, wow. Okay. You
and
left
I
me
do
with
want to
no.
kill my opponent too. Side note.
Okay. So before we talk about your opponent, you've had 3 canceled bouts, right?
I think so.
Yes, you've
At
had
least.
three.
Yeah.
Three. How what process do you go through? Because you've spent day in and day out training, focusing, sacrificing, doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you go to your fight, you do your weigh-in, you do everything, you're about to walk out, and your opponent is gone. How do you process all that? How do you go? Like, how does a switch not go off in your head, like to just break something?
I mean, so I'm thinking back to it now, and it was such a bizarre series of events because I had an opponent who we thought was, he was legit, decent record, this and that, and we figured like he's gonna show up, he's gonna fight, and he pulls out the day before, and at that point I was almost, I kind of wish I said just like, no, I'm good, because sometimes when things like that happen, it's like, right, you have two sides of the coin where you
Yeah.
want to put on the show for your fans and everybody, and you want to perform, of course, but at the same time it's kind of like, maybe I just won't finish this weight cut and I'll wait, maybe this fight wasn't meant to be,
Yeah.
but I agreed, okay, I don't even know the kid's name, I don't even want to say his name. I might know it, but I'm not even going to say it. I don't want to give him any plug. So the other kid agreed to fight, and he showed up at the venue and he asked Michael Pulver for $50 for dinner. And then he never came back. Which I think he has, drug and alcohol problems. Hopefully he finds a way to, help himself. But I'm thinking too, like, I used to be a drug addict. Come get knocked out and make $2,000 or whatever you're gonna make instead of getting the 50 and leave. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so I was gonna fight, and like I was well prepared for that fight. But again, I really do try to take the positive from
Yeah.
everything. And that night was the first night that I was not going to have my father walking out for a fight for me.
Oh.
So, with that being said, we had a big bond when it came to fighting, and he
Mm-hmm.
walked out with me most of the time, 4 fights. And what I did that night was I made the walk anyway. So even
Mm-hmm.
though my opponent didn't show up, I walked along the top of the
Yeah.
balcony. I walked downstairs, I came out on the stage. I walked up into the cage. I bowed in. I got
Yeah.
in there, and I addressed all my fans that came out to see me. So it was one of those things where it's like, I took it again as a positive as much as I could. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was bullshit. But besides that, I got to take the walk. I got a full training camp and I was injury free. I learned a lot in that camp. And like I said that night, now I just have to kick my next opponent's ass twice as hard for the guy that didn't show up and for himself. So that's the plan.
That's the plan. That's good to know. So now you'll be fighting July 10th, and
Yes.
you will be fighting Billy Goff.
Yes.
How are you focusing and training for this particular fight? Is it any different? Or is it, or maybe just different because we just went through a pandemic, but other than that, everything's going to be the same.
No, it's not much different. I mean, I have been in a pretty consistent and regimented training camp for the last, I wouldn't say a camp, but a training regimen for the last 6 months. And then I just tweaked a few things as far as just a little bit more shark bait, a little bit more conditioning, a little bit more sprinting, a little bit more this and that. But as far as my skills training, I haven't changed it much because I have already been working on my areas that I felt that I wasn't super strong in and trying to strengthen my weaknesses in the fight game already. And I knew that a fight was going to come up. And I knew that I wanted to fight this summer. And then they offered us Billy, and I thought it was a great fight, and I wanted to take it. And he's a tough kid, and that excites me. I told Mike that I don't want to fight any bums. I already fought all those guys. And I think a lot of people in my situation would probably be looking for easier fights. I'm 8-5. I've technically lost my last 3 fights. I lost in the Contender Series, then I lost at Bellator, and then I dislocated my shoulder. So boom, boom, boom. So people might be looking for an easier fight a guy with a losing record. Billy's a tough up-and-comer. He's 22 years old. He's well-rounded. He's a little bit more of a grappler wrestler, which in the past has been a challenge for me as a fighter. He's got decent stand-up too. He's not weak anywhere, and he's hungry. He wants to come in. He wants to beat me. I'm only 30 years old, and everyone's like saying I'm the veteran and stuff. Like I'm just hitting my prime. So this type of fight is exciting. Like this type of fight makes me train harder. This type of fight is going to bring out the best in me. And this type of fight makes me super competitive. And I don't want anything less than that. I want to fight a tough kid. I want a challenging fight, and I want to win.
Now, you both fought Cameron Lachinov. Billy had mentioned something about the ground, how he should have been, his mental state wasn't completely there in his ground technique, and that's part of the reason why he lost. How do you feel your fight went?
I think I lost for the same reason.
Okay.
I think, first of all, Cameron's a beast. If you guys check him out on The Ultimate Fighter right now, I think he's fighting next week.
Yes, he is.
Tuesday. Yeah, check him out. We've talked since we fought. I like the kid. He's a good guy. And hopefully he kicks some ass on The Ultimate Fighter. I think he's got a bright future. But yeah, we basically ran into the same problem with him. I tuned into that fight. I'm sure Billy checked out mine at some point, but Cameron took us both down, and he was able to control us. And I realized that was a big weakness of mine at that point too. And it's something that I want to work on. So I think that both of us have probably worked on our grappling more since that. So
yes,
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I think it's a good matchup, and I think both of us have built our skills from that point. But Cameron kind of handled us both in a similar way.
Yeah. Out of all your fights, whether amateur or professional, what fight stands out the most for you?
I would say my first amateur fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
So my first amateur fight, I had only been formally training for about 4 or 5 months, and it was down in New Jersey. I was training at this little gym in northern New Hampshire, just like a couple guys sparring. My dad introduced it to me, and my sensei at the time wasn't able to make the event, but we got offered a fight in New Jersey, and we drove down there. It was my dad, two of my best friends from New Hampshire, and one of their dads. So it's just like us rolling down to this kid's hometown. And I was a scrappy kid, but I didn't really have much experience. So it was kind of cool going into this enemy territory, right? And I remember during the rules meeting, this is kind of a funny story. They had this big team. It was like Team Rhino or something, and they had a bunch of guys there. I think even Frankie Edgar was involved with their team at that time. Big name, of course. So they had a bunch of guys fighting on the card and this and that, and we're just kind of like some hillbillies from northern New Hampshire. And I remember during the rules meeting, they're like, yeah, make sure you're only walking out with your corners. You can't be walking out with like 30 guys, Team Rhino. And like, they're all laughing and joking. And I was fighting one of the Team Rhino guys. And my dad, he raises his hand, and they're like, yeah. And he's like, well, once you get in the cage, it's just one-on-one, right? And they're like, well, yeah. He's like, okay, so it doesn't matter how many guys they walk out with. And I was just like that's the type of person he was. You know what I mean? He's like, when you get in there, it's just the two of you, So that was like a great memory. And then I like put it on this kid. I knocked him. It was an amateur fight, but they got standing 8 counts. That was the rule. I knocked him down within like 5 seconds and cut him in like 3 different places.
Oh,
and then the fight continued, but it went into the second round, and I put it on this kid so hard. Like, he didn't know what to expect. I don't think he ever fought again. It was his first fight too. Poor bastard. And it was a great night. And like we all celebrated, me and my dad and my buddies celebrated together. It was just like, it felt so good. You know what I mean? It was like, it was just so cool because there were so many nerves around it, and like so many things could have happened, but that was a really special moment.
Was that the picture you posted on your page this week or last week?
Yeah, I posted a little video of it this past week.
And that your father had mentioned, like, we're driving all the way down here.
Yeah, we got there, and he said, we didn't drive all the way to New Jersey for you to get your ass kicked. And he like kind of laughed, but I knew he was serious, and that we really didn't drive all the way down to New Jersey for me to get my ass kicked.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. I know losing somebody that you love is never easy.
No, it's been a difficult 2 years now, 2 years recently, but there's been a lot of growth and positivity that has come in certain ways with the loss. So I just try to, like anything else, just got to make the most of it and try to be and live in the moment and enjoy it.
Yeah, just keep doing what you do best and keep making him proud.
That's it.
Where would you like to go from here?
So I'm really trying to embody the one fight at a time mindset right now.
Okay.
In the back of my head, I know where I want to go, and I know what I'm capable of. Like no one else knows what I'm capable of except for me, and I have true belief in my abilities, and where I still believe that I could take this if I choose to. So it's one of those things where I'm just taking it one fight at a time. I'm training again because I love it, because I'm a martial artist. And I kind of have taken that pressure off myself that I used to have, where every fight was like, I have to win this, or I'm not going to get to the UFC, and my dreams aren't going to come true, and I'm a failure, and like this and that. And like, you have nothing else except fighting, like I've created a better life from the inside out. You know, I feel better on a day-to-day basis. I have a beautiful fiance. We're getting
Mm-hmm.
married in December. Got a beautiful little girl. I got a business. So, with all that being said, it's like I almost don't care. And I don't mean that in the sense of like I don't care if I lose, because I am super competitive and
Mm-hmm.
losing is not in my nature as a person, but I don't care. I'm happy with what I got going on, and I'm fighting because I want to fight and because I want to compete. And
Mm-hmm.
wherever that might take me, I'm happy with. If I just fight a few more times locally and call it a day, great. If I start dropping dudes and make it to the UFC, awesome. Like I'm just continuing my journey as a martial artist and a person.
How has martial arts changed your life?
It's shaped my whole life. You know, all my friends are in the fight game. I I joke around and like some of my other friends that want to hang out from time to time. I'm like, you have to join an MMA gym or you're never gonna see me, because that's like all I do is work, spend time with my family, and fight. And I don't get time for anything else. So if you want to, guys, if you want to spend time with me, join an MMA gym and become a fighter. So, but it's formed my whole life. You know, I live a very healthy lifestyle. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I've found diet and exercise and meditation, breath work, and my business. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
train people in martial arts now, and my whole life has been formed and shaped around martial arts. And I'm so blessed that I have it in my life, and I found it early on in my life, because at
Mm-hmm.
times when I was down and hurting the most, I always knew I could get back to fighting in martial arts. Like that is one thing that like pulled me from the lowest places. Like just the hope that like I could show up at a gym and I could be welcomed with open arms with a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of other misfits, and like just train and just like get into that zone. And it's just like so special to be able to have that. And like anywhere you go, anywhere you travel, I could show up at a gym in Florida and I could meet people and I could make friends and they could come up here. You know, it's such a cool community and a cool world. And I'm really happy and blessed to be involved with it.
Do you have any advice for amateur fighters?
Enjoy the process for sure. Enjoy the moments, right? Where you don't know how long this ride is going to last as a martial artist. And I learned that, right? Where I was just like so forward thinking
Mm-hmm.
that I just was on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Now this, and now the contender series and sweet. And like, I never, I didn't always stop and just like look around and enjoy it and really take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll only ever win. You'll only ever make one walk for your first amateur fight. You'll only win your first fight one time. You'll only ever win your first belt once, even if that's an amateur belt. Like that first time you win an amateur belt is the first time you'll win an amateur belt. You know what I mean? You'll only make your pro debut one time. You'll only maybe be on the contender series one time. You only make that walk to Bellator. What you don't know. And there's so many factors. There's so many injuries, all sorts of things, jobs, family, all sorts of things that could kind of interrupt or slow or stop your fight career. And it's short-lived, right? It's not something you can do
Mm-hmm.
for your whole life. So that would be my suggestion: is enjoy the moments, take it in, stop on the stage before you walk into the cage and look around, take a visual picture, and take a big breath, and then go whoop some ass.
Enjoy every moment
Enjoy
of
the
the
moment,
process.
no
Be
doubt.
very mindful of what's happening.
That's it.
Very, very important. Before we conclude, is there anything else that you would like to add?
All I want to do is just give a shout out to everybody that's helped me along the way, and this particular camp. Shout out to all my sponsors, Elite Construction. Shout out to my fight team. I've been working with Brett O'Teary at the lab. Joe Lozon is going to be my head coach for this fight. I've been working at Lozon MMA quite a bit. Shout out to coaches that I've worked with in the past for a long time. Crew Mark Delagrati from Sayotong. I always got love for them and everything that they taught me there. Local Lobo will be in my corner. I've been working with a boxing coach, Michael Firicano, and everyone else. You know who you are. You know who you've been involved in the work that we've been putting in. And yeah, if you guys get a chance, check out my gym, Needham Self Combat by Lally, and pick up some kill gear night of the fight. We're going to have a merch table. So come check it out. Show your support to all the local fighters. You know, whether you're there to cheer for me or watch me lose, like come out and have a good night.
Just be there.
Just be there. It's going to be awesome. It's first fight's back. It's going to be, the energy in there is going to be insane. It's already sold out.
I know. It's so exciting.
I know. I
so
can't.
It's going to be a night to remember.
No doubt.
At every level. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I will talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Send my love to your mom and to your fiance. Give a kiss to your daughter, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.